How you doing, Mr. Geary?
Hey, Mr. Montoya, how are you?
I'm good. Good day.
You in the car?
Yeah, my sister's awake and she's a little, playing with her toys.
Yeah, that's a lot. Let's see.
Yeah. Well, I'm about to start. I'm about to do my intro, so we could. I'm already recording.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you. Well, thank you for joining me in the podcast. Well, hello everyone. Welcome to the first ever A.M Podcast. I'm your host Anderson. Thank you for joining today. And today we have a special guest, Staff Sergeant Gary, and also my former economics teachers. How you doing, Mr. Gary?
I'm doing delightful. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for joining my podcast. Well, Mr. Gary, can you tell us more about yourself and break down your story?
Yeah, I'm from San Diego, California. I was born in 1988 and had a relatively normal childhood. My dad was a teacher. My mom was a nurse. Um,
Hmm.
a pretty normal upbringing. The only like major hinge point, I guess, early if we're doing a quick rundown of my story, is that I made the mistake of stealing alcohol when I was 17. Just I didn't even drink, which was the funny part. Uh, that I got arrested, and then that kind of threw my life into chaos for a little while. What was interesting at the point of my life that happened was I'd already applied to college. So if I hadn't, I probably would have just joined the military right away. It was 2005, 2006, so the wars were kind of popping off, just as a reaction to the trauma and kind of how my parents were reacting.
I
So
see.
I got lucky. So I went straight to college, even though that happened. But I was still interested in the Marine Corps and kind of personal growth. Joined
Mm,
year, then kind of had an 8 year long path of doing graduate school and one with the Marine Corps. Eventually graduating, staying in, and now I'm 32, 13 years in the Marine Corps, 2 years into full time teaching, and living the best life.
that's good. Well, in the beginning, did you ever think of joining the Marines, or was it when you got to college that you know, you decided to join the Marines?
I was definitely always interested in the Marine Corps because my dad, my uncle, and my brother were all Marine Corps. Um, I lived across the street from the Marine Corps recruiting depot
Uh huh.
in San Diego. Like I before 9/11, we'd play like soccer games on base, and it was pretty much an open base. You know, we didn't really have terrorism to worry about. Um, so yeah, the Marine Corps was kind of all around me. It wasn't an unusual. It wasn't as big of a risk for me as it is for a person who doesn't have that much exposure to the Marine Corps already. I kind of
Hmm.
already knew a lot about the military and that kind of thing. So yeah, I always say it wasn't that big of a risk for me. As
Gotcha.
opposed to like if you're on Montana and you join the Marine Corps full time, like
Uh huh.
you don't know where you're going, you don't know where you could be deployed. And I
Yeah.
joined as a reservist too. So if you join as a reservist, you know exactly where you're going. You pick your job. So it really wasn't. It was a much lower risk decision that I purposely made. I didn't want high risk. I wanted lower risk. I wanted
Oh, okay.
more control over what was going to be my fate. Than
Mm,
if you just join active. Like Mr. Lemus last year, another former student, like he just joined active
mm-hmm.
and the Marine Corps just does what they want with you.
I
So
see.
that's
Well,
not what I wanted.
well, I searched up for the basic training because that's one of the hardest things to do while you're in the Marines, of course. And I think that was 13 weeks, right? 13 weeks there
Yeah,
you
it's
did.
13 weeks is boot camp. Yeah.
Oh, for that, how did it change you? Like your mentality and your like, how did it change you overall?
So boot camp didn't change me. It gave me a experience that I was able to endure. So I had the
Hmm.
knowledge that I can endure a sustained, hard experience. But as soon as
Okay.
I came out of boot camp, I went back to college, and I was the same turd that I was
Uh-huh.
before going to boot camp. Yeah, I actually
Yeah.
all the discipline that it instills in you, it actually went away right away. Like literally the next week I was sleeping till noon. Yeah, it was kind of crazy. It was a eye-opening experience. So I didn't fully I didn't at all intake the discipline that I did for 93 days in boot camp as soon as I returned to civilian life. So I didn't really know how to process it at the time, but a lot of it is it's hard. It's a completely different environment. It's easy to be disciplined in boot camp because if you're not disciplined, you're gonna get punished and your life's gonna stop. When I went to college and I'm living in a house with 10 guys and everyone's partying all the time, there's no punishment for me not being disciplined. So as soon as I had that avenue to not be disciplined, it all just went away. So I actually didn't get much from boot camp other than the knowledge of sustaining a difficult experience.
Yeah, I got you. Well, during your college experience, when was the point that you decided to become more disciplined, or where was the point that you just sat down and said, I had to be disciplined now and move on now instead of living that party style?
Yeah, I did, you know, I was always focused on like I want to be more disciplined. Kind of what I hear a lot of kids saying, you know, I went through the same exact thing where every day it's like I want to be more disciplined, but you just like can't. You just can't. But I mean, the good thing is like at least step one is saying that you want to, and then keep getting after it.
Of course.
I guess that what I knew and what I did was I knew I had to change my scenery. I had to change the environment I was living in if I wanted to be successful at actually getting the discipline. So what I did was I bought the boat that I live on now because I knew it would take me away from kind of the party house atmosphere. I mean, it is impossible unless you are the greatest, most disciplined thing on this planet to be a like nice, normal, functioning human being when you live in a house with 10 guys and it's not like it's fun. Don't get me wrong, and that's an experience. That's an experience that is cool to live through. But you definitely don't need it. You know, you don't need it at all, and you will not come out of that with any type of discipline or anything like that. But yeah, it was definitely when I bought the boat and I moved out of the party community onto the boat, and it kind of gave me more of a space to really actually focus on myself, stay away from the video games and that kind of thing. That it's all just it's all pleasurable things that are all in the moment, but they don't do anything for your life overall. So I guess that was the start of it. And then what really helped was deploying 3 out of 4 years. When I finally came back to school, as technically I was a junior, but I was like 24 or 25 years old, so I was like an old man in college. Because I was gone for so long in rather atavistic conditions, you know, like sleeping in the dirt all day and you know, just hard conditions. When I did go back to school finally, I legitimately enjoyed going to school. Like I wanted to learn. I sat in the front row. I was like, this is amazing. Like we get to sit in normal chairs. I'm clean, first of all. Like I would go to my professor's office hours and like talk to them. So that kind of all went hand in hand. The discipline with just like enjoying, not enjoying, but just being more engaged in normal life.
Gotcha.
So they kind of went hand in hand. I would suggest it's rather impossible to like be that kind of person just living in the environment that I lived in before. So it was kind of, and I knew that. It was kind of like my choice to join the Marine Corps. I was like, I knew I need to do something to kick my butt. And then I was like, I knew I need something to get out of this scene.
Yeah.
Which is hard because, like I said, it's fun. It is a lot of fun. Like, who doesn't want to go on the roads? Like, when you walk in, you know, you walk into the living room, we have stadium seating. There's 3 video games going, you know, like, And you could sit there. You'll walk home at 10 a.m. from going to get groceries, and you'll sit on those couches until
Uh-huh.
3 a.m. the next day. But
So
yeah, years of that, and you're just like, what am I doing with my life?
yep. So you had like a party house, and it was crazy to get out, huh?
Yeah, yeah.
Well,
It's fun, like I said. You don't need it. Uh,
uh-huh.
it's not like life fulfilling, but in the moment, it's very fun.
I see. Well, how long did it take you to have the discipline that you have right now? Like, did you have to work on yourself first, personal growth? How did everything happen for you to gain your discipline and get that skill and master that
Yeah,
skill?
number one was definitely just putting myself in the right situation where
Mm-hmm.
I'm living alone, so I have the space to easily practice it. I'm not
I
challenged
see.
that hard. So step number one would just be like finding a good living situation.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I don't have a freeway next to my boat. It's quiet. That like when I go
Uh,
over to people's houses and they live next to a bar or like the freeway, I'm like, how do you do this? This is crazy.
yeah.
So very, like, I have like a very calm space that's all to myself that I can go to, which I think is essential, especially if you're like building discipline and everything,
Okay.
um, like a less stressful way. So I would suggest plotting your life and figuring out how that goes on.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, the other things for building discipline, definitely just exercise and eating right for sure. And uh, oh yeah, the things that I kind of made the list on, I'm kind of getting after. Definitely reading as many books. Supplement. I kind of figured out that if you can supplement video games and things that you do that are just a waste of time
Mm-hmm.
with with reading or being productive, supplement the like video game time or anything that you do that's kind of
Yeah.
not fulfilling. If you supplement that with reading and spending time with people,
Uh-huh.
those are like better practices, especially for instilling kind of your own discipline to drive. Um, one of the things too is just being as a young person, you're not like you haven't really accomplished anything, so you're not proud
Mm-hmm.
of what you've done. I always lived in a way with the Marine Corps and with what I've done in academics and whatnot, so I could be proud of like what I've done and kind of had a sense of accomplishment, which gives you a lot
Yeah.
of confidence for me daily exercising my discipline. Like even though, especially since quarantine, like we like I haven't really had to work at all.
Uh-huh.
Like I still work out every day. I still like I'm not a turd, like I
Yeah.
still catch it, but no one's really keeping me to it.
Uh-huh.
I think those things that I listed for sure will help. So what does suck is that and kind of what I got after is that it does take a while, especially as a young person, because you're not in control of your living situation,
Of
and
course.
it's hard. It's hard without a salary to
Mm-hmm.
like have a good living situation. You can if you get out of the Bay Area, or these high rent places. If like the focus is to uh, get out and live in a more stable, like cheaper place. I mean, you could go out to Fresno or something
Yeah, of
and get
course.
your own place like relatively cheaply. It kind of sucks, obviously, to be out there and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
But if I were to go back in time, I would experiment with that more. Like I went to Santa Barbara just because it was on the beach and it was the most pretty like party town.
Yeah.
If I had more of my older brain, I would have been more open to maybe like going somewhere on land or something. I was also like a surfer bro, so it was
Mm-hmm.
important to me to be on the beach. But yeah, like now I would be more open to somewhere inland or something like that.
Yeah, of course. Well, when we were both emailing each other, you said I told you about my graduation, and you said that it should be acknowledged but not celebrated, and that caught my eye because that was actually true. Like we didn't accomplish a lot because we just went to school for 7 years or 5 years or 4 years if you're in high school and just listened and did work. but we didn't take a lot of risk and do a lot of stuff to actually accomplish stuff in life and get ready for the real world.
Yeah.
And one of my questions was like, when do you know that you accomplished something really big to celebrate? Or if you do accomplish something, do you just want to be chill with it and not celebrate until you get to your dreams? For example, for me, I want to be a real estate agent, but should I celebrate that when I become an assistant, of course, because I'm getting into the process of that. When I become an assistant, should I celebrate that, or should I just wait until I become a real estate agent and then celebrate? Or how would that work?
Yeah, it's tough. It's a fine line, because of course you want to celebrate your successes and that kind of thing, but then you don't want to rest on your laurels.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, I guess it's just it's mostly just the manner that you do things in. So, you should celebrate graduating high school, but should you be celebrating it in a way that you just like climb the highest mountain on the planet and your faces are everywhere and everyone's
Yeah.
screaming that whole thing? No, not to that level.
Mm-hmm.
So of course, like celebrate all the little things that celebrate it in a way that's over the top.
Mm-hmm.
And what you can do is just uh, really small things. At the end of the day, when you celebrate, you want to get people together. So
Got you.
if you're take for example, you want to celebrate you becoming someone's assistant, getting into real estate, you're really getting your steps going. All you do is, you say, hey, I want to have a dinner on Friday.
Mm-hmm.
Come on in, we'll make some food. Your face isn't plastered all over the walls. You don't have a banner that says, you know,
Yeah.
I'm an assistant now. You just get people together. You say, hey, I'm excited. I'm
Uh-huh.
starting this world. I'm getting into assistant. I don't know what's going to happen, but I just wanted to get you all together and we'll hang out.
Mhm.
Like,
Got you.
technically you're celebrating, but you're not losing your mind, that kind of thing,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
which should be more of it, which is kind of what the Marine Corps does, like when anyone achieves rank, you read the thing, it is ceremonial. Um, but all you end up doing is shaking the person's hand.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then maybe with their buddies, you go out, but no one's making posters and no one's saying I'm the greatest person of all time.
Yeah.
It says congratulations, like way to make it, man. Proud you did.
Uh-huh.
Like, let's hang out. So
Got you.
that's more. But you should definitely. I mean, I never had big celebrations just because I never had large groups of friends. I never really
Mm-hmm.
valued having large groups of friends until recently.
Yeah.
So I never had large celebrations, and they're always kind of weird. Uh, so, yeah.
So, we know that you're an economics teacher. Did you want to be there at a young age as well, or when you got back to college, that you decided to learn about economics and the life of
hmm
the environment and stuff?
Well, yeah, I said I told you earlier, yeah, I was lucky that I always wanted to be a teacher. So I
Mm-hmm.
did have that clear path in front of me. The classic case of anyone who's a teacher always says, like, oh, I had Mr. Hayes, who was my 10th grade history teacher, and I just really liked them, which I
Uh-huh.
did have. I am the classic case. Like my 10th is my ninth grade geography teacher and my 11th grade U.S. history teacher, Mr.
Uh-huh.
Hayes, um, was just like a chill dude, and
Uh-huh.
he was like a hippie, and um, I thought he had really good classroom management because he didn't like yell or anything, but just had
Uh-huh.
like good presence. And what I really liked about him was that he served in Vietnam and like had a Purple Heart and everything. But you would have never known, because he was just like a chill guy. And so I just liked how he had that kind of dichotomy to his life. And so
I see.
I always kind of wanted to mirror that. I would have never known that I would have wound up at the Oakland Military Institute. Normally in
Uh-huh.
hours years of teaching, like I'm a normal person. I have a beard. I
Yeah.
wear normal clothes. It's just because of the military school that I bring out much more of the military aspect of myself.
Of course.
Normally,
Yeah.
I wanted that kind of model. So that's how I wanted to be a teacher originally.
Got you.
And then to the economics point, what's funny about California social science credential, so
Mm-hmm.
I wanted just to be a history teacher, but you do 3 years of social science in high school, so you either
Okay.
do world or European history in 10th, U.S. history
Uh-huh.
in 11th, and Gov and Econ in 12th grade. So I have a history
Yeah.
degree with a social science credential. Before teaching economics, like I know nothing about economics.
Mm-hmm.
Or, I mean, I know government just because of history. You deal with a lot of government and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But economics, I really knew nothing about. And before this last year, kind of designing the curriculum, really was nervous about not having enough content. And now that I've been re-going through this whole quarantine, I've been re-going through all the curriculum and making it better and more engaging. Actually, now I really like economics, and I'm like in the stock market and everything.
Uh-huh.
All
Yeah.
those, all those things that I went through with y'all that has to do with the stock market and CD
Mm-hmm.
and everything, I didn't know any of that like a year ago. So I learned all that,
Um,
and and what was good was I went into it thinking like, okay, I don't know anything, so the kids don't know anything. What lens should I go through all this through?
got
So that's
you.
why I kind of went through it in that lens, and why I didn't super focus on like macroeconomics and aggregated economies because they don't super
Mm-hmm.
apply. And I'm like, okay, uh, more of a personal finance lens from kind
Yeah,
of
of
where I
course.
got it from. So yeah, that was kind of the genesis of that whole thing. But what's funny is now I really love economics. It's like
Yeah.
my favorite thing. My curriculum right now is fire.
Uh-huh.
It's all good, and I actually don't. Government, I think, is just so. It's just so basic. I know it's important, but it's kind of hard to teach in a senior high school classroom setting. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I know it's like upper level and it's cool because you guys can vote and everything, but I almost think it should be like a ninth grade subject.
Yeah.
Just because the bare bones of it, there's no way to make it interesting. It's like, look, you
Mm-hmm.
have a representative, you have the city council. It's like, and you guys kind of know these things. They're just boring.
Yeah.
So I try to make it interesting with like Cartel Land and the movies.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I like that one. So the subject that really caught my eye was the stocks, because as you said, the fire movement. I really wanted to be financially free at an early age, and I just knew that stocks or real estate was a great path for me to get to that fire movement and retire early.
Yeah,
And when you talked about the money and everything and how the economic work, I didn't know about stocks like that, but I did seen some videos about it, or the Roth RIA. I really wanted to create one. I'm still going in through that process. I'm trying to learn about it more and before I join it, so I could be ready for it just in case if uh, everything goes down. I'll be ready for it.
yeah.
So, but when you were getting your credentials, of course, how hard was it because you didn't know nothing about economics or you didn't know nothing about stocks? Uh, what kind of books did you read, or like how did everything go?
Yeah, but not, you got a guy next to you.
Hmm?
Oh, never mind. Yeah, with that, I started with the economics textbook.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, with that, I started with the economics textbook because that's what we would all read.
Mm-hmm.
So I started there, which again is tough because most of it I don't. It's just too macro and big headed. It's
Uh-huh.
either too macro and big headed or it's too basic.
Got
So I
you.
was like, this is kind of tough. That's why like we really didn't we maybe used the book half the time, I think, in class. So that was tough. And then again, just getting after what was good is I was doing it myself. So I was getting after a lot of the personal finance and goals and that kind of thing. And
Yeah,
then
of course.
as I kind of thought more and more about it, I figured out that like what you're getting after, which is, I want to be financially independent.
Mm-hmm.
The funny thing about that is it's not a technical skill. It's just personal discipline.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that because my best friend, this guy Leland, the guy that races the sailboats, uh,
Okay.
he's done the exact same thing that I have done in life with the deployments and everything. And me and him financially have intaked the same amount of money, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm sitting on a $50,000 asset with stocks, and my credit is good, and this, that, and the other. And he's a nightmare. He's in debt. He has no assets. He's just horrible with money. He
Uh-huh.
has no discipline with it. Like the main difference between us is like if I went out to a restaurant, um, I always order the cheapest thing and like get what like I'm just fine. I'm just disciplined like that. If we go out on the town one night, like he'll spend $150 in the night, and I'm just always cutting corners. Like, I'll have a water, this, that, and the other. Like, what's the cheapest thing I can have?
Uh-huh.
And so I kind of realized that, yeah, like your personal discipline is really the bedrock of financial independence and security.
Of
Like you
course.
just can't spend your money on crap. And
Mm-hmm.
I did reach my goal. Like I wanted $10,000 before the summer hit because I'm not getting paid over summer.
Yeah.
I achieved, and I bought some things and sailed around. So I'm at like 8,000 right now, which is
Uh,
still like a good amount of money, and that's perfectly fine for me.
uh-huh.
Do I want to go, get hotel rooms and fly somewhere? Like, yeah, but I'm not just because I'm disciplined like that. Would
Okay.
other people, have that kind of money sitting around and want to spend it? Definitely. So I
Yeah.
did want to make that connection and try to infuse that into class as much as possible. That like money is 90% just your own personal discipline, and
Mm-hmm.
it's your own way that you act in life, which is cool because you already kind of understand that, and especially getting into an industry that is all about money, real estate. It's all about selling houses and this, that, and the other. So you are getting that. I know a few real estate agents, and yeah, they're very financially conscious off the bat. So it's a good
Uh-huh.
industry to be in. Where you always be like careful with your stuff.
Yeah, but with the discipline with the money, since high schoolers, um, they get the money and they don't know what to do with it. Thankfully and luckily, I know how to budget. I searched up how to budget. I practice on budgeting, and I'm getting used to it because it's pretty hard, being disciplined with your money since um you have to spend this much money and not spend over the money. But for high schoolers, they think just because they have money, now they could buy the new iPhone or the new AirPods, and they spend it. And when they get to around like 24, they don't know what to do with the money, and they don't know what to do, and they get debt, or they get credit cards and they use it like crazy.
Yep.
But what would you say to them if they wanna become financially free, or they don't wanna spend that much money? How can they practice their discipline with money?
Yeah, the number one thing that I would say to start, just because it's hard, even in my own experience, like even when someone's telling me something that I know is right,
Mm-hmm.
like it just doesn't help very much. Like unless you really wanna, like kind of the way that you're approaching it, like unless you're like really dedicated to it and trying to get the information, it's just pretty much impossible to tell someone something and they actually make a
Yeah.
change. The number one thing that I do as a result is I try to model it as much as possible. So the thing that I would say is I would say like, look at my life, like look
Yeah.
at me. So I'm not going to tell you anything, but I'm going to tell you about my life, and I'm going to hold up my phone right here. I have an iPhone 6 from like
Yeah.
6 years ago. You know, like I don't need, like it does everything I need it to do. What do you have? And if we ask any high school kid, of course, what do they have? Like an iPhone, whatever. Well, whatever. Like you have better than iPhone 6, don't you? Like, yeah. So everyone has a better phone than me. I haven't encountered someone in a very long time that has an older phone than me. Like next, I have those little like Bluetooth headphones. I actually just did a big boy purchase where I did get like Beats. But again, like that was the first time I've ever spent money on headphones. Before that, like I've never had AirPods. The Bluetooth ones I did have were like $80 from Target. So I say, like, look at all the crap that you see around me. Is anything expensive around here? And it would be like, no. What do I wear every day? Like the green shirt. I don't. Yeah. I do have nice clothes, but that's more of a professional thing.
Yeah, of course.
So I would start with, like, if you ever have the urge to buy something that's expensive, I would say just don't do it. Just, you don't need it. Like, live in a way where you don't need the expensive things. That is like ground zero for financial security and independence. The biggest thing, the number one thing for young people is do not buy a nice car. If you buy a new car, like that is one of the dumbest financial moves that you can make as a young person. It is the stupidest thing that you can do. I saw some kids at graduation driving around in some nice cars. Like I'm like, kids shouldn't have nice cars. I wish we could have that law. I always had a Chevy Malibu. My dad just gave me this old Cadillac, which again, in a lesson of not having a nice car, it keeps breaking down. Granted, he gave it to me. It's just like a family heirloom. Like I didn't buy it or anything, but it's already been a nightmare in the shop. I have a basic Chevy Malibu that I bought used. That has been the greatest car. It doesn't look cool or sexy or anything. But it's a hatchback. It can fit all my stuff in it. The thing gets 30 miles a gallon. If it breaks down, it's always very simple. Yeah, so I would model. This is all just modeling. I would say, look at all my stuff. I have nothing that's nice. Look at my car. You won't. So as far as modeling, that's as far as I could go. I could say, like, look, I live on a boat. I live with meager means. I don't have stuff. So that was all the foundation of my financial security. I could model my finances versus my buddy Leland's finances. Again, same money intake. I'm probably sitting on overall $60,000 to $70,000 worth of just general financial assets that I have, and he literally has zero right now, like zero. He's the same age, everything. So that would be more modeling that I could show. But other than that, after that, I would just be telling you the things that I would model. And it would be important to get a nice bank account. I would tell you to buy a $250 CD just to see how it feels for a year, just to get that very first light toe into investing. I would tell you to get a Vanguard or a stockbroker account, and I bought 5 shares of Spirit Airlines at $8. Like you can buy a share of, depending on the stock, for $8. It's not that I'm a genius or anything, but it's $24 right now. So on those 5 shares, I'm already up like $70 just on an $8 investment, So there's all these, those are more things I would tell people to do that are little. Of course, to read financial books like you're doing is always great. It puts you in the mindset of doing that. But it's definitely 90 to 98% of it is just your lifestyle. How you view life it's like the secret to financial success. You could also, I'm sure you read any book about a rich person. They're like the most frugal people of all time. Like if you go out to dinner with them, like they make you share the check, even though they have like $80 billion. Any rich person it's only mostly like athletes, that go hard. But for the most part, I follow a lot of Mark Cuban stuff, and
Mm-hmm.
that dude wears a t-shirt every day. He's like,
Yeah.
he just loves business. He's not, of course, he has a big mansion and everything, but again, that's real estate. But he ain't going around with uh, more silly things, I guess. So those
Yeah,
are
like
good
a
lessons to learn.
Ferrari or like
Yeah,
expensive watches.
yeah.
Yeah.
Those are the fun stories, especially with the athletes. The guys who still drive their like Honda Civics to practice. Like, there's always a few of those
Yeah.
athletes out there that do stuff like that. Or just drive some old janky pickup truck, and they just sign some like $80 million contract. And
Yeah, of
you're like,
course. Of
you're like
course.
smart, I guess.
Yeah. Well, every time I came to school, I always seen you and your bike, and
Oh
yeah, and I'm like, oh, he hardly uses his car. Like,
yeah,
how does that work for you? Because the school is not close to the where's your boat located at again?
I'm right by Coast Guard Island, so it's a five
Yeah.
and a half. It's 5.5 miles one way.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, so that's another just like small little frugal thing that I do. But that really does add up. So if I bike every day versus
Mm-hmm.
driving, um, we're talking about a tank of gas every 2 weeks, which is $50.
Yeah.
40, $50, times up by two for the month. So now you're at $100. Now you're at $1,200 a year. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
something as small as that. We're looking at, call it $1,000 a year that I'm saving in fuel. On top of that, the worst thing that you could do for a car is drive it on the street,
Of course.
not on the
Yeah.
freeway. So I'm saving future tires and engine stuff. So at its core, yeah, the bike thing is a money saver.
Mm-hmm.
But what it's more valuable for me is it's just a health thing. Not that I'm getting a good workout from it, but I found that it was so much more pleasant and I was so much more relaxed and
Mm-hmm.
decompressed at the end of the day if I biked home than if I drove home.
Of
Um,
course.
it was just a more relaxing way to end the day. Now, I had to use my discipline though, especially over winter, because it
Uh-huh.
sucks biking in the
Oh yeah.
dark when it's cold to
Uh-huh.
school. Like sometimes, a lot of times, it's not fun, and I'm like, I do not want to bike right now. But I knew that it would be really nice in the afternoon if I did, and I
Yeah.
bike by, and it's a pleasant route. I bike by the lake. I bike through downtown, so it is a pleasant route to do. I would still do it if it wasn't pleasant, but yeah, that is another small trick for sure
Yeah.
to and I went and saw my friend out in Pleasanton all weekend, and I could have drove, but I just took BART. I said, "Come pick me up at BART." Like, it's more
Really.
relaxing, yeah, and it's just all those
Uh-huh.
little things, you just that's one way, and it is like kind of an anxious way to live life, but I cut corners like on every on every avenue that I can. Now I don't cut corners in like if I do car repairs or something or
Uh-huh.
things that are significant assets. I'm not going to cut corners because that's only going to come back and bite you.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but things where I could save myself, just biking or something like that, and it's
Of
always more
course.
pleasant. What is helpful is that I am like skinny and in shape, so I think
Uh-huh.
what hampers most people from biking is that you'll get like really sweaty, and
Mm-hmm.
I won't get very sweaty, so that's kind of helpful.
Yeah.
Um, but I did kind of do that to myself. Like, I'm in shape. It's all these little things which you might be catching. If I do all these little things in life, it just makes everything better and more efficient.
Yeah, of course. And I see that you have a no sugar. You don't eat no sugar, right? To stay in shape or to be more healthy.
Yeah, I I'll it's one of those things where yeah, if I'm on my daily routine and just living my own life, I'll never eat sugar, I'll never get ice cream,
Uh-huh.
that kind of thing. But I hung out with friends all weekend, so I had ice cream bars and nice things. So it's not that I never eat sugar, but yeah, definitely on my daily routine, I won't. And uh, I just started putting fruit in my oatmeal,
Uh-huh.
just because but I do it in the morning. So anything like carbs or sugar, I try to keep out of the afternoon.
Yeah.
Um, in morning, I just try to intake as many calories as possible. So I have recently been putting blueberries and banana in my oatmeal.
Got
So
you.
yeah, it's not a strict no sugar, but that is definitely one of the things. That was one of the earliest things I probably did for myself when I was in high school. I literally drank a 2 liter thing of Sprite every day. I'd,
Really?
yeah, I'd run cross country and track. I'd go home and just drink Sprite all day.
Uh,
And at some point, it was in college, and I think the foundation of it was money. I was
mhm.
like, how much money can I save by just not buying soda and just drinking water, which is free?
Yeah.
So the foundation was money for sure. Um, but yeah, then it just turned into like, wow, this feels a lot better to just drink water all day. Like this is nice. But yeah,
Yeah, I drink a gallon of water. Well, I like to drink a gallon of water. Sometimes I don't finish it, but I go out for a run in the morning. It's like a 2 mile run from my house to the school and back. It's 2 miles,
yeah,
and it's good because I'm not that tired. I don't cramp a lot. The
yeah,
next day I feel good, and then it feels good.
yeah,
And throughout the day, if I don't work out throughout the day, like I just don't feel good. I feel slow. Like
for
for
sure.
you, yeah, for you, like do you have to work out to have a good day, or do you like
Yep.
work out just to have a good day?
I have to work out for
Mhm.
sure. That like even when I was hanging out with my friends last weekend, like I just worked out by myself at my friend's house. I was like, I have to do it. I did have the Peloton app, so I did a 20-minute yoga, I did a 20-minute abs. Like
Mhm.
I'm sorry, I'd love to sit here and watch Brooklyn Nine-Nine all day because we have a lazy day. But
Yeah.
like I have to go into the corner to work out because
Uh-huh.
I would just not feel like I accomplished yeah, it just gives me a crappy feeling for the day. That
Yeah.
is just like the soda thing, like the number one thing that society could do if they get to that point where if you get forced to work out in the morning, see how good it feels. Or at
Uh-huh.
least at some point, sometimes I I can't get it done till the afternoon, which is always least preferred. Um, but yeah, if I don't work out, then it feels horrible, and I wish other people could at least get on that routine long enough to
Yeah.
realize how bad it feels, and then more people would. I think. I mean, it kickstarts everything.
Yeah.
It's crazy to me. Like people just go. Some of our high schoolers have literally never worked out in their life, and they
Mhm.
just eat and drink crap all day, and you're just
Yeah.
like, no way. That's why I understand all the kind of craziness that happens because I'm like, there's no way you're of like sound minded body. You just go around
Uh-huh.
like either on a high or a low, just constantly.
Of
Um,
course.
where I'm just like even keeled and I feel great and normal, and I'm just like, this is a wonderful life.
Yeah.
Again, you can't tell people these things, but you just try to model it. I try to
Mhm.
model eat salads every day, and I'm always like have the workout stuff in the room, and I'm always kind of doing stuff. So it's kind
Yes.
of
Got you. Well, for the patience part, like you had to be patient to get your credentials and to become a teacher, is because it took you about like 30 years to become a teacher. So throughout the process, it was hard. You had to face some obstacles, and you had to overcome some adversity. Like,
mhm.
how patient were you to becoming a teacher? Like, when you seen something so hard to do, you just look back and seeing that I have to do this because this is my dream, and like it's gonna take time for you to become successful and accomplish your dreams. How what can you say about being patient and like it would take a long time?
Yeah, patience probably the hardest one, and I'm still not super patient in some areas of my life.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, patience. I'm not too. It does. I don't have too much off the cuff on how to develop patience. I mean, I guess definitely
Mm-hmm.
just reading, doing yoga, things that are like sustained things definitely probably have to help with patience. So reading, doing yoga, yeah, being on a work, yeah, I'm sure running is helpful with patience. Yeah, I think probably having a healthy lifestyle will really help patients overall. I, yeah, there's techniques. Uh, oh, I think probably a really good one is having goals that you really want to accomplish. I think that really helped me out. I always wanted to be a teacher, and I was always very clear cut in it. So it
Mm-hmm.
was kind of just easier to be patient with it. If you're doing something that you're not even sure that you want, um, then yeah, I could see how it would be more challenging to be patient with it for sure. Um,
Gotcha.
yeah, it kind of makes sense, in a high school context with like, we ask kids to be patient and whatnot, but what if you don't want to be there in the first place or don't want to be doing what you're supposed to be doing? Like, yeah, why would you be patient with it? So yeah,
Of course.
I think that all kind of ties into it.
Mm-hmm. Do you think the school taught us about how life will work? Because throughout my 7 years in the military school in Oakland Military School, um, a lot of military staff were talking about we're doing this because we're building your discipline, or like the push-ups. I used to do a lot of push-ups because I used to talk information. So they always used to tell me that you're doing these push-ups to build your discipline. But I never really I never became disciplined because of that. Like I became disciplined from me doing stuff, waking up early in the morning and like getting after it, going on a run or doing all of my courses. But do you think that the school is teaching us how to work or how to do stuff in life or get through the stuff the the like the hard stuff in life and just become, a really successful person in the real world? Do you think the school taught us that?
Um, with any, I'll start with like with any experience,
Mm-hmm.
with any type of institution, things can, an institution, whether it's the military, our school, college, family, um, they can teach certain things like discipline, but
Yeah.
teaching does not, it's the same thing that I was talking about earlier, where I can tell you to be disciplined, I can tell you to do things, but if you don't want to intake it at all,
Mm-hmm.
then you're not going to learn it, and you're going to view the school or the institution or your family or whatever you're going through as they're not teaching me it.
Mm-hmm.
So technically, things like you doing like standing in morning formation, um, it is practicing discipline, but really not that much. What you're getting after is, yes, all discipline is personal. Like
Mm-hmm.
only you can do that. What our school does differently than a normal school is it does model it well. The military people model discipline well, which you
Yeah.
will not get at a normal school. What you're mostly getting, which is a good thing, is you are getting a consequence for your actions. So if
Mm-hmm.
you talk in formation, you are receiving a consequence, some of the times at least. Um,
Gotcha.
in a normal school, there's no consequences for menial behavior like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's no push-ups, there's no anything. I mean, you really got to do some type of a grievous, mostly attention-gaining behavior to like have detention or something. And most schools are doing away with detention and everything.
Yeah.
So the number one value you were receiving was, oh, I did an action and there's a consequence. That is important for life because after high school, and especially if you deal with government or anything like that,
Mm-hmm.
um, there are consequences for your actions. So
Of
just
course.
like, and it doesn't have to be behavioral consequences. You see it already though. You see that if you don't work out, the consequence is you're not going to feel
Mm-hmm.
good. Go
Yeah.
crappy. Um, what I saw as a consequence, if I spend money less frugally and don't cut corners, then the consequence is I'm gonna have less money and less freedom
Mm-hmm.
and less that kind of thing. So yeah, it didn't. The school, doesn't fully teach like life things. It's very hard to teach life things unless the only way to do it, I think, would to make it residential.
Mm-hmm.
So you live there, that kind of thing. But if you go in and out of the school like most people do for high school, yeah, you're gonna get that sense like, oh, yeah, they're not teaching me life skills because just like you're getting at, it is internal, and it's like this where I'm the same person that I am with you, with all the other former students, right? But you're getting a lot more value from me than most other people,
Mm-hmm.
right? I'm the same, and the institution's the same, um, but they're gonna say other people will say I didn't really teach much, or I didn't really get anything from Mr.
Or,
Geary. But you would probably say, well, he does have some good value. I got some things, right? So it's all just what you choose to intake. And then what you can do in the future to like really get the most out of your experiences. And this is what I did in boot camp, where I was
mm-hmm.
like, wow, all of this is really dumb. All it is marching. You're
Yeah.
tired. You get yelled at. Like
Uh-huh.
it's really dumb. So I looked at it through the lens of like, what can I get out of it? Like you know, what should
Uh-huh.
I do? So I did like little things like, um, can I stand straighter, or, yeah, I just look at any experience I do. I go like, what value can I get out of this? I'm not just going to be
Yeah.
like, oh, this is stupid. Um, I'm not going to get anything out of it. So
Of course.
yeah, a place like OMI, the problem, it has problems in congruency, um, and a lot of other issues. But the one of the cool things that it does, like no other school, is like the military aspect of it. You have a wide variety of characters that you won't normally get at a normal school, which is cool.
Yeah. Of course. Well, you said that um a lot of high schoolers, a lot of my classmates, we do. You're the same person to everyone, but the only person that will get something out of it is the only person that reach out, and that's nice because it's true. So it's really true because a lot of people just finished high school and maybe they're just sleeping right now, or they're not doing nothing about it, and they're gonna get into their 20s or late 30s and just look back and just say, why didn't I do this? So what can somebody do to like stop their their way of living and just get in that mindset of, I have to reach out to somebody, I have to get a mentor, and like start doing what I have to do so I could be good in life throughout the ways.
Yeah, it's number one. It's very challenging. It is not easy.
Uh-huh.
Uh, I think the hardest part about having a mentor and reaching out to people is that I think it can be embarrassing.
Hmm.
Like it's like embarrassing and awkward, right? If you can get by, so most kids that like do reach out to me are like, you can tell there's an underlining tone of like, this is awkward, or like I feel a little embarrassed, which is like normal and fine.
Yeah.
But some people can get over it in whatever way they get over it, where it's like, no, whatever you're saying to yourself, where it's like, my goals are too important. um,
Uh-huh.
i see I see the value in collecting views from different people. So
Hmm.
that overpower like, oh, it's either embarrassing or awkward. The other hard part is like, um, most high schoolers and younger people, to include myself, are like ragingly insecure, right? Physical insecurities, emotional insecurities. Um, so that's kind of like the underlying tone of why you're embarrassed, and why you might be embarrassed, or why you might be feeling awkward, because like you're insecure. So if you're not fully secure with yourself, it's kind of hard to interact. Um, and then yeah, there's you just gotta figure out those issues. But what you can do, I guess, to those kids, because those issues aren't going to be solved, is just to the end all be all in life is just to force yourself. Like you
Yeah.
have to force yourself to do stuff.
Of
You have to
course.
be like, I don't want to do this, like I still go through life, like I don't want to do whatever I need to, whatever I'm doing right now, but I have to do it. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and if you have that skill in your life, that'll be very valuable for you.
Of
So if you can somehow intake yeah, this sucks. I don't want to do this.
course.
I'm gonna do it anyways.
Yeah.
Um, then that'll be the most, at least those first steps for, yeah, like a normal kids to reach out and what have you. And it's hard too, because I mean, most of my peers, like, I don't want to talk to them. Like, I don't respect that many people.
Uh-huh.
uh, and it's hard growing up as a kid too, because you don't have enough like depth of knowledge to know, like, oh, do I just think they have good points, and then are they actually weird, or that kind of
Yeah.
thing. And then, it's 2020, so all the weird, you know, behaviors of older and younger people are out there, and it's just like it is a weirder, more challenging time. I think it was more accepted, like back in the day and back before the internet.
Uh-huh.
Younger people that have relationships with older people.
Yeah, of
But it's
course.
a lot more. It's just more complicated these days. I try to put out the vibe. I think I do successfully.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not like weird or anything, and I'd model myself after what I wanted, what I would have wanted as a kid,
Of
as
course.
as like a mentor, or just someone to ask questions to. That's because the number one thing that I say that I missed in my life was, like, I didn't have someone to talk to that I respected. Um,
Uh-huh.
I kind of just like puddled through life trying to figure it out without really asking people. But now I have those. I have like peers now. I think I was saying in the email, like, I try to surround myself with successful people. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
most of it comes out of the Marine Corps. Like, I have this one guy who's like one of the greatest dudes I ever met in my unit right now. He like made his own company. He built his house out in the mountains. He has this
Uh-huh.
beautiful family, and he's just balling. And he's in the Marine Corps, and he's a great orator. He does all these like online classes, and he business consults. He's just a beast.
Of
I'm
course.
like,
Yeah.
dude, we're both in our 30s, and I'm like, you are on another level. Like,
Yeah.
I thought I was okay. Like, this guy is just like literally blowing life out of the water. And I'm
Uh-huh.
like, so even me, I'm just like, damn, I need to like talk to this guy and have this guy in my life. He wakes up at 5 every day and has like an hour and a half long morning routine,
Really.
which I could just,
God.
yeah, I could not get. So I've talked to him plenty and everything, and just like this, where I like picked his brain about his morning routine, and I gave it a
Uh-huh.
few. I do have like a very brief morning routine, but nothing like him where it's like the same thing. And like it's helpful though when you do have a family, because he has a support staff. So I'm kind of like
Uh-huh.
by myself, and I'm doing a variety of things. His life is a little bit more routine,
Yeah, of
but
course.
yeah, stuff like that where there's always something better, and it is valuable to reach out. And yeah, like I don't have any of those feelings of embarrassment or anything, because I'm just secure with myself. But yeah, definitely it's hard. It's hard for younger people.
Mm-hmm. One last question that I have for you, Mr. Gary, is
Yeah.
that looking back at it, or just talking to a high schooler that's just coming out of high school, or somebody that's trying to, be successful in life, what can you tell them about the process of building that mindset and building that skill to having the things that they want, or building that self-discipline, and building that the patience to becoming successful, like your friend, to not, like, spend a lot of money, or like $150 on clothes or something, and to just, you know work with the process, because it will take time and be hard, and it's gonna be some days that you're just not gonna want to do it, but you still have to do it. Like, what can you tell those high school students, and anyone that's, trying to get to that level?
Uh, I mean, again, it's just so hard to tell people things.
Yeah, of course.
But that's where all the cliche phrases come in, where it's like you gotta want it, or any
Yeah.
type of like sports pump up thing. It's just like not they're almost counterproductive.
Uh-huh.
Because people, what's hilarious is, besides very successful athletes, like people that use those phrases most likely like do have huge gaps in their life or aren't very successful. Um, uh, yeah, I mean, I have two big signs in my class. One says read, and one says discipline is freedom.
Uh-huh,
like,
yeah, I seen that. That's a big sign. It's like right in front
like
of me every time.
it's like if I were to say two things, it's read and discipline is freedom.
Uh-huh.
I'll tell you that, brother or sister. Like, read and discipline is freedom. Do what you can. If I were to say a logistical thing that'll really help you, which meaning like it's nothing that you would do, but it's most important to change your living situation.
Mm-hmm.
Get your living situation as peaceful and as individualistic as possible. If you're living in a group, it is free. It is hard. It's whatever you can do to get out on your own would be or have peaceful individualistic environments is the number one thing you can do for personal growth. So
Uh-huh.
somehow logistically plan to get by yourself. Now that sucks if you have family and obligations and that kind of thing. You can reverse look at it and say, yeah, I may be living my little sister and helping my mom, but if
Mm-hmm.
I go get this personal discipline and therefore then I can become successful in 10 years, then I can actually really support them.
Mm-hmm.
So can make that argument like, hey, I need to go out on my own to really intake this stuff, and then I can come in on the back end and help you out. So
And
that would be because I know
and
most
how
of
can
y'all
you
like live with your families
mhm,
and everything, and I'm just like, you need to get out of that situation as soon as possible.
of course. How can you do that to like get out on your own? Like, get yourself an apartment or like
Yeah.
find a way to, live by yourself and go through the obstacles and the real life experience. How can you do that by, first getting an apartment or just
Yeah.
getting
Well,
somebody to live with you so
America
you can
America does have one really easy way, and that's the military. That'll get you out on your own right away
uh-huh.
in taking a salary, and then you're getting the educational benefits on the back end. So that'll get you out of the house and kind of you're still obviously in a group, um, but more
Okay.
individualistic than you and separated and everything. More possibility for developing those personal things quickly. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but other than that, you just got to start hustling like crazy. I mean, you just get two jobs and just start saving all your money and don't spend a day. I mean, cut out everything. Like even in my life right now, I
Mm-hmm.
don't have any subscriptions. I don't subscribe to Netflix. I don't subscribe to anything. It's kind of cheesy, but I use other people's subscriptions. Um,
Yeah.
you just got to be the cheapest, most frugal thing of all time. I mean,
Uh-huh.
don't even buy fast food. Like if you buy groceries, it's cheaper. Um,
Uh-huh.
so just be insanely frugal and just work your butt off. Just do constant odd jobs. Like I was always good at that. If someone was like, "Hey, can you come help me break down this wall?" I give you $100 for the day. If I was just gonna sit around that day, like I would get my butt out there just to do it. So you just gotta hustle like crazy. Hustling meaning not that you're slanging things, but just that you will do anything for money. Um,
Of
that's
course.
kind of the foundation in building that financial base. And just, I mean, the best thing that you kind of quoted that you're doing is like doing something like Toastmasters. That's amazing. I've met great people in
Uh-huh.
Toastmasters. You're only going to like widen your circle. You'll meet a guy who is like, oh, I need an assistant or something. And boom, you got like a job doing something
Uh-huh.
with, no, in the real world, no one cares necessarily about your credentials. They just care about your character. So if someone meets you
Mhm.
at Toastmasters, they're
Of
like,
course.
I don't care if you went to college. Like, you're gonna show up to work every day at 7:30, and you'll be like, yeah, I'll be like, come on over. And, you know, I know a few people in life that randomly have like amazing jobs, way more paying than I do, because they just met
Uh-huh.
someone and they just work for them. So it's just stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I just read that in the book too. Uh the when how to win friends and influence people,
Yeah.
how your character is the big thing. I was reading one chapter and it said this guy went out and went to the school and said, can I see your most the person that has a lot of character. I don't want to see the person that has a 4.0 GPA or has this credential and this. I just want to have the person that has a lot of character and has a nice, has
Yep.
a nice character.
Yep. That's it.
Yeah, of course. Well, thank you, Mr. Geary, for coming out on my podcast, my first ever podcast. Thank you so
No worries.
much and taking the time out of your day. And yeah, thank you for this information. I really, I got stuff to think about now about personal growth and trying to get out there and live life. But uh, this is the AM podcast. Thank you, Mr. Geary, for joining us again. Have
All
a
right.
good day.
All right. You too.
Thank you.